Okay, I apologize for the little power outage that we just had. We're on generator here now, and we think we may have power back. It might have been a blip, who knows? Either way, welcome to our Tuesday, September 7th meeting for the Township of Nipissing. I'll ask if there's any disclosure of pecuniary interest. Seeing none, we'll move on to staff reports. We do have 2 written staff reports. First one I had was from Dan McGinnis. And if you have any comments or questions on that. Yeah.
We're supposed to be on the boat August 24th. We should be mid-October.
Any other questions for Dan? If not, I know we're going to have some more questions when we get to some of this other information, but for now, we'll move on to report to council from John Paul Negrinati. And at our last meeting was mentioned that transition provisions were going to be included, and that'll come up, as John Paul has mentioned, at the next meeting. And that's in regular session, correct?
Regular session.
Okay, good. Any questions otherwise? Councillor Marchant?
It's good they've got the webpage for the adjustment. Is it accessible through the township one or separate one?
Accessible to the township webpage. Go to the community boards.
So you just look on the,
Yeah, you can see your policies. It's an agenda on that one.
yeah, that's very good.
Thank you, John Paul. If there's no other questions, we'll go to Fire Chief Bateman.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor and Council. All the fire extinguishers have been done on all the buildings. Everything's good this year. The furnace and the HRV systems have all been installed and all working good. We're doing maintenance on the apparatus and equipment and getting prepared to install the underground tank next week. I've got a couple little bylaw things and working on some bylaws.
Any questions for Chief Bateman? Okay, I'll move on to,
Most of my staff report is actually in the agenda and then working with EFRM for the past 2 weeks. But we would like to close the office to the public on October 26th. We need to do our first aid CPR training and it takes all day. And we usually do it as a group. So we close the office for that day. So I will be coming forward with the resolution of council at the next council meeting. But that's what that will be for.
Sorry, what date?
October 26th.
October.
That's everything else that I have will come up within the meeting.
okay, any other questions for Chris? If not, we will go to committee reports and we'll start with Councilor Moore.
We had Nipissing Township Museum Board meeting on September the 4th. We went over the amount of people that we've had through the museum. Remember, it was a shorter season, so we're a little bit down. We're a little bit down on the money that we made too, but had a great Heritage Day. We had a lot of donations, and the end dollar amount was very good. We ran into a little snag on the painting and staining of the porch at the museum and the gazebo. the wood was much drier than the painter anticipated, and it just sucked up the stain. So he continued to put coats of stain on. Anyway, he called us and asked about putting, after he did the 2 coats of stain, if he could just put a coat of paint over it, which we did. So it ended up costing us a little bit more money. He ate half of it. He said it was going to cost an extra $1,000. So he took 500 off as a donation and charged us an extra 500. So I think that was fairly fair of him. The curator has lots of ideas for next year. She will be working until mid-October part-time. She'll catch up on some of the things she didn't get to do because of the late season. And we are going to set up a booth on Recreation Committee's drive-in theater night, the end of September 25th. So curator will work that evening and she will set up a concession booth with whatever we have left over. And we're hoping to get the candy floss machine up and running, so. And I don't know if I've missed anything, Steve.
No, that was pretty much it.
Okay.
They're putting tarps together right now.
Yes,
to
we had
utilize some-
donation of curators, got a connection with local companies. So we had tarp material donated to us. So the staff is putting together tarps to cover the outside material this winter. That's what they've been working on.
Okay, any questions for either of the museum board reps? Okay, we'll go on to Councillor Marchant.
Nothing, not even a tentative date from the source water or the definite.
They're holding off. It's just like the election. Everybody's waiting to see what happens. Councillor Kirky.
Okay, library board, there will be a meeting on September the 27th. I have a meeting with the CEO of the library tomorrow in preparation for that. She's gonna get me all caught up on what's been going on for the summer and everything, and that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. And Councillor Scott.
I think we've got our movie. What was the movie, Will, The Shining or Friday the 13th?
Yeah. If everything goes well, it'll be Space Jam 2.
Space Jam 2.
We're just waiting.
I was waiting for that, I thought, come on.
We're just waiting for a couple more legal stuff before we can advertise.
Okay.
Okay, good. They shine. Okay, any question, anything else, James? You wanna-
No, that's about it.
Yeah, that was plenty. Okay, that was good, though. Okay, we did have an East Home meeting since the last one. The government again has extended the temporary wage enhancement. The ISIP grant for the air circulation and heating and cooling is 2 to 4 weeks behind. Signage guidelines have been set out. This is interesting. You get the money from the ministry, and then they tell you have to pay for the signs that say this project is supported by the government. And it's going to be thousands for the sign, and they are continuing to replace aging equipment, hot water tanks, washing machines, a walk-in freezer, and two other freezers. So evidently 25 years and you're out. Program changes. They've got some scheduling demos completed and they're working on a vendor selection. And this is so they can get out the nursing and all of the scheduling further in advance so people can plan for that. And they've started a network project because with the scheduling, with everything else that has to go along with this they have to upgrade their network. For staffing, goodbye to the summer students, and they had a student appreciation barbecue. Right now, the Canadore PSWs are in, and they're doing all they can to attract as many of them for employment purposes. And next month, CTS students are expected. And East Home, if you've been through Powassan and see the big sign there, East Home continues to recruit workers, but staffing issues persist, and this is province-wide in that sector. And finally, the home is open to general visitors, testing only for those not vaccinated. And if you are, proof of vaccination must be shown, then you don't have to be tested. And our next meeting is, I think, September 15th. I think so, because the first was Wednesday. Any questions? If not, we'll move on to resolution 4. And that's to adopt the minutes of the meeting held August 17th. So I need a mover and a seconder, Councillor Marchant and Councillor Kirky. So it's number R 2021-191, moved by Councillor Marchant, seconded by Councillor Kirky, that the minutes of the meeting held August 17th, 2021, and the minutes of the special meeting held August 3rd, 2021, be adopted as published. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Okay, number 5, RFP for a tandem truck and plow. And Dan went back over this. It wasn't ready the last time only because,
There was a couple of things that I checked no to, and that no wasn't an option, so I straightened that out. So we're getting everything that I wanted on it, so. we're gonna get those.
and we're still at the same original price.
Yes, no change to the price.
Okay,
Yeah, so
okay, so I need a mover and a seconder then. And Councillor Moore and Councillor Scott. So it's number R 2021-192, moved by Councillor Moore, seconded by Councillor Scott. If we accept the RFP, Nipissing Tandem 2021-01 proposal submitted by Curry Truck Center for a total amount of $324,773.30, including applicable taxes, that we also accept the extended warranty EW4 at the total cost of $7,015 plus applicable taxes. All in favor? Carried.
Is there much chance of him being late?
well, we got a year basically.
Yes.
He's pretty sure they're gonna hit it, but they really didn't want to agree to this $1,000 income, which can't fall.
Yeah.
So, but he's pretty confident that they'll hit the October. Yes, exactly.
Okay, so we'll go on with 6, to approve the fall newsletter for circulation. Now, we've had some discussion for that with this, and we have 2 newsletters, okay? And the only difference is on this one, it says Thursday, September 30th, the township of Nipissing will close all municipal services in recognition of the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. Tax payments will be accepted without penalty on October 1st, 2021. Now, this, again, some townships are doing this, some aren't. This was brought out by the government,
The federal government.
federal government that's sitting right now, and everybody seems to be holding off to see what happens on the 22nd, because it may or may not happen after that, or it may happen, so we don't know. So the only reason we put it in is in case one group wins, they may suggest that it's happening. Another group may suggest that it's not happening. We wanted to cover all our bases, but we can leave the office open or we can close the office, and it's up to council to make that decision. Tom?
Is school open that day?
School is open. I called about that, and their belief is on November the 11th, schools are open. and for Truth and Reconciliation Day because they believe it will be a more better education in both cases through the school than if you give the school a day off and the kids just go hunting or something. Pardon?
I can agree with that.
Yeah, I agree.
My only concern is that, the only way we could do it legally is by resolution, right?
Yes, and what we would do is either way we go, the resolution would come out next week or at the next meeting. But the thing is, the newsletter has to go out before the next meeting.
Know the results of the federal election a few days after.
No, it'll be the day
Because
after,
the mail-in,
September
it's going to be open.
right?
And it's not a provincial approved statutory holiday.
It is not.
Provincial
But your
legislatures
banks,
program.
everything else will be closed, right? No mail. No banks.
It's gonna be like some of the holidays, but how many people get it off?
Right.
How many people
Very,
can remember?
very
Steve?
few will get it that day off.
Is anybody advertising now at this point that they will be closed?
I'm seeing different things coming up. What we did receive, and it was in the correspondence, was if council decides to call it, then there is a resolution for council to pass to make it a municipal holiday for us to close. Other than that, things are coming in from both sides. And with the federal election on September 20th and provincial parliament is now prorogued until following the federal election, it's going to be very close to see.
Decision from the province.
No, I don't think so.
What are some of the other municipalities closest to?
Haven't had a chance to talk to any of them because they're all meeting tonight. So
I
we're all
just
in the
wonder if
same
they
boat.
Or through the grapevine or anything.
No, I haven't talked to anybody about that. Everybody's too busy to talk today. So
Yeah, coming back off a long weekend, of
Yeah,
course. And then we
there's
have
there's
the
an awful
right
lot
time.
going on. So
I understand, I just wanted to.
Yeah.
we haven't
Met
had
somebody in
any
the mall or
since.
something.
No.
Yeah.
So it's basically our decision of council.
If we say we're gonna do this and then the following year it's, they rescinded or whatever, it's not permanent to us, it's just.
No,
Okay.
it would be for this year.
Just for this year.
Yeah.
Just for this year only.
So I would say, put it in there.
I agree.
And,
It's for this year. It's important, I think.
I think so too. I don't want to be on that other side of that coin.
So what we can do is we'll pull it from correspondence like we've done for other things.
Yeah.
And then we'll have the resolution come forward on the September 21st council meeting.
Okay,
And we'll go ahead and include that in the newsletter so we get it.
it's out
Because
there.
that will be
Perfect.
going out
Yeah.
this weekend. So we wanted to be able to
Okay,
advertise.
And that's the only reason, because if the newsletter wasn't going out, this wouldn't have been an issue. We would be discussing this 2 weeks from now.
Yes, if it was posted.
And then we would know what the other townships are doing, whatever.
My only concern for what happens, none of the other municipalities around the school.
I'd rather be a leader than a follower.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, we will see,
Pull it and
People falling
we'll
off
put
a
it-
cliff falling. on it.
you know.
Yeah.
But if that's the general wishes, then we will leave that. We will, in that case, we would accept the newsletter. This newsletter.
I'll take the other one back. then. How about that? No, no, this one.
Okay,
And that way we'll know.
I do believe, and again, I didn't talk to staff, I just talked to a couple of counselors. Powassan thinks they will do it, you know. And I'm looking at Bonfield, thought they would do it, but again, that was just talking to the mayor. And didn't hear from Callender, but I didn't get the closed session meetings
Yeah.
minutes either, so.
They will be coming. I did speak to Elaine, or I did correspond with Elaine, so they are coming.
I will pick them up. Okay, so then, oh, I have it. I need a mover and a seconder to approve the fall newsletter. Okay. Go with Counselor Kirky. Counselor Scott. So it's number R 2021-193, moved by Counselor Kirky, seconded by Counselor Scott, that we approve the fall newsletter for circulation as presented. All in favor? Carried. Number 7.
I had put a note in for number 7. After reading the documentation, it says here that the resolution that was opposed by Macker, the actual wording is it's a member's resolution rather than a council resolution, and that the committee of the whole recommended consideration of this matter be deferred to a committee of the whole meeting in September from Vaughan. So I don't believe we have the final decision from the city of Vaughan. So I would recommend deferring it to the next council meeting. And if it is passed by Vaughan, then passing the opposition.
Okay.
But often when a single member makes a motion, they don't necessarily have the backing of council. So I think it's wise that we wait.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we'll wait on that one. Which brings us to number 8. And this is, we talked about this last time. So this is over PSA tests for men. And I need a mover and a seconder. Councillor Marchant and Councillor Scott. So it's number R 2021-194, moved by Councillor Marchant, seconded by Councillor Scott, that the Council of the Township of Nipissing support correspondence from the town of Cochrane regarding a motion to include the PSA test for men in the national healthcare system, and that it be made available for all Canadian men at no charge. All in favor? Carried. Next, we go to number 9. And we looked into this a little further as well.
Yes, Bill 228 was received royal assent on May 20th, 2021. And it's an act to prohibit an unencapsulated, expanded, or extruded polystyrene in floating docks, floating platforms, and buoys. So it appears that it's been looked at already.
So it was passed in May.
All right.
They may just not have received it or didn't get a chance to look at it.
They do reference it in their resolution. It's just that there would be no real reason for it.
Right. So we go to number 10. Discussion of draft to regulate or prohibit parking bylaw update. And yeah, this is large.
Yes, this is a very large bylaw, and the bylaw that is currently in place has certain areas for parking restriction, and it's all in wording with legal descriptions, so it's really difficult to understand. So what we've tried to do is update it, including mapping, and we will update our mapping to represent and have the words for specific distances from the stop signs and things like that. But what we wanted to do was bring this to council just for review, so you can see our thinking behind it. A couple of things that are new that we'd like to bring forward in this, and I'm just going to refer to the pictures, it's better. We're going to have areas for snowplow turnarounds that we will sign, and we're going to designate them on this map. We suggest that we move to a community safety zone for around the municipal office and the school.
That's this map.
Now, since the resurfacing of the road and the traffic today on the first day of school, we noticed a lot of trucks were moving rather quickly along there, and it's a safety hazard. Plus, you have the park, you have the school, you have everything there, the museum, the municipal office, and the public works yard. So it would just simply move it to a 40-kilometer-an-hour zone and have any speed fines doubled.
I had a conversation with one of the ratepayers who lives further up that road. Was talking about possibly extending a lower speed limit signage up that far because there are people on ATVs and campers coming through from 534 across Hamilton Farm Road and Armstrong Road. And they're traveling at 60 and 70 kilometers an hour. I don't know if anybody's been up in that corner lately. That's not wide enough to be doing that stuff.
There have been issues up in there. I believe the police have been notified, so there may be an enhanced enforcement.
Okay.
You're getting that on all other ones.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's
Well,
very bad.
We
yeah.
get it on the highway. We get the four-wheelers on the highway. We'll get a whole slew of them just flying.
Yeah, well, there
We've
is a
noticed-
standard, the standard in Ontario is 50 kilometers an hour, that's highway traffic. 50 kilometers an hour. So if they exceed that, then that's already covered.
but what we can do is we can notify the OPP when we do have a number of complaints, and we've noticed issues in our area as well. So with the community safety zone and the enhanced monitoring, hopefully we can curb some of that behavior as well. And that is a seasonal road coming through there.
Yes, it is.
So hopefully,
There are two sections of it.
yes, there are, and they're both seasonal.
Yeah.
I think the fine stuff that may hopefully be some kind of control.
Just try and get somebody's
What's
attention.
this type of thing James had mentioned one time about that sign with the radar, mobile radar? Just wondering if we looked into it for some of these roads.
We haven't yet, but that is certainly an idea.
Like
As
you-
we move
You said
forward.
that town, the municipality has one?
We have some, but you can go to the OPP and they'll give you one.
Good.
There's different ways that
Somebody
we'll,
should look at some of these roads.
Well, I have kind of looked at it, Tom, like we can purchase, it does the radar and it also does a car count at the same time. So we can kill two birds with one stone. You can purchase those, they're typically like $5,000 for two. And then it will study
yes,
and also flash speed. So then, and it tells you if you're going too fast, slow down, way too fast. Yeah. The car count, we can, you know, we can move them around, because you just stick a four by four post in the ground. You just move around, there's slowing power.
and it would be helpful for us because we're trying to do our roads need study in-house more. So there's a lot of different
That's
things.
something we should look into for the budget for next year.
Yes,
Might be cheaper than hiring a consultant to do that.
Yeah,
and I think we know our roads a little bit better. right?
We have people out there in the county, it don't take long for wages to happen.
We have a tower on the whole break right now. So we'll have an idea. Been there for about a month, so we'll be there until also winter time. And it'll give us an idea how many vehicles are passing there a day, month, week, so we'll have an idea.
So while
no, go ahead.
we were working on this as well, we noticed some areas that can be improved for public safety. So this bylaw kind of encompasses everything that we were looking at. So we're introducing an emergency loading zone, which would have no parking at all, which would be for fire department use or, for example, in illustration number 1, which would be commonly known as Party Rock. Sometimes we have ambulances and other emergency services that need to get people off the ice, for example. So this would be their point. There'd be no parking there at all. We'd limit no parking on the road, which would then free up all of our sight lines. And Dan's already done the parking area brushing and preparing.
Yeah, we used all the fill from the road construction to line the parking lot there,
Okay.
so.
So that way we're providing the parking.
Yeah.
And we'll designate it for a longer term parking and a day parking. We're also hoping to, in illustration number 2, there've been several complaints about the end of Sandy Bay Road. So this way we do have some land on the one side. We can create up to 3 parking spots, I believe. And with the emergency loading zone for the dry hydrant and no parking along the road, we should be able to clear up that issue as well. Illustration number 3 exists now, and it protects just the roadway down where the road is very narrow. And we had some people using some of our land for personal use. So it just
Where
helps
is
us to enforce it. Bear Creek Road. I
This
believe. Is that it?
illustration 3 is Bear Creek Road.
Yes,
Well, it's illustrations coming out of there.
yes.
Okay,
Bear Creek's the one that makes a loop at the bottom.
No,
This one.
okay.
okay.
What's separate back into.
That's the houses, I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
Just kind of looks like gravel. pit or something, you know.
No, there, it's
So-
developed.
Oh, there's a couple houses in the back there.
See that one? Didn't bring up much.
Illustration number 4 is Wade's Landing. And that just would be a housekeeping item to make sure that there's no parking down there.
Scolded.
Illustration number 5 is Chapman's Landing, which we're hoping to be able to eke out a couple of parking spots there. That one's still under negotiation.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna have that one there, so we're here, so we're gonna do some ideas around and see what we can do.
An interesting one is illustration number 6 is currently the Maqua Lake boat ramp, boat launch. It is in dire need of something.
Well, the concrete's all broke, on the ramp, and
It's not
it's
safe.
pretty dangerous.
Yeah.
So, that's why maybe it would shift and move to the other one. So we don't,
That's right.
you know, to replace that ramp, it's all concrete, and it could be big money.
Yes.
So we move it there, we use a natural boat launch. And, you know, we take that one out, the existing one out, and,
So you'd block,
well, we wouldn't block it off, we would just pull the concrete out and leave it as a natural boat launch. People aren't risk using it.
But we would not provide parking.
Right,
Because the
there's no
parking is
parking.
what has
Yeah.
caused a huge issue there.
Yeah.
that's illustration 6.
Yes.
Yeah.
So in illustration number 7, the township owns this
Sorry,
piece.
number 6, it would still allow when you take it out for the loading fire trucks.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, we're not doing nothing with the road, the fire trucks will still be down there, we just slowly maintain.
That's right.
With this concrete, they'd still be able to.
Yeah, it just won't be maintained.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, no, that's okay. With illustration number 7, this piece of land is owned by the municipality. And it's not being used. So there is a road allowance down to Maqua Lake. And we went down and visited it, and it's a natural launch. We can brush at a low cost to us and prepare it for parking.
We take our brusher down there, and the guys cut some trees
That's
and
right.
brush.
We've had several complaints about not having anywhere to park for access to the lake or use of the lake and for people living or staying out on the island. So this way we could, again, break it into longer term parking and short-term parking to
What
accommodate.
would the capacity of that lot be?
It's how, like, I mean,
However
we
you-
got a big area there.
Yeah, it's
How
huge.
much room council, room funds to make.
So we own a fairly wide strip down.
We own all of this.
That driveway going down to the lake, is probably 300 feet.
Oh,
Oh, I see. So if we upgraded that,
Yeah, we could just, where it's highlighted red, we could just cut the trees and get in there, make it wide enough for, you know, some section car, truck and boat trailer, or, and then some sections just for cars. Because going down there, I see a lot of cars there.
Still, or
Not too bad, probably just, it's pretty level there, probably just a little bit of A gravel or quarry B on top, so it's stable.
it's nice if we own all that stuff to the side of it.
Yeah.
There's no conflict then with
It's just a-
houses or anything.
couldn't
That's
we
right.
use our ditching materials?
If it was low, we could tackle something good, but it's pretty, it's already pretty level.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So it's just a matter of putting something solid on there so people aren't parking in the mud.
So capping. wood.
Yeah, we'll just strip the organics off, put a thin layer of quarry B and a little bit of A,
Yeah.
And, you know, obviously, we wouldn't maintain that in the winter, so, you know,
What would the cost of that be, just to?
Chris and I have just kind of gone over this, we haven't done the numbers, but, you know, yeah, it depends on how many parking spots we're gonna make. It all depends on the numbers, right? And we're gonna get into it a little bit more in the next couple of weeks.
This was just to bring it forward to see if
Yeah.
council had objections to us exploring these options.
Well,
So we propose to start off with 3 to 4 daytime parking and probably 6 to 8 overnight parking. So speaking with some of the residents on the island already, they're in favor of working with the township. There's already a list of probably 9 or 10 who'd like to come and speak to council, and they're more than willing to pay for parking. So they would like
So
to
that's
discuss
something we
that
can look
opportunity with council.
For a season pass
So
or
we
something
do like
like
a
that.
season pass and they can park their vehicle there in that spot.
That could help us offset our
Yeah.
maintenance costs.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
And still give public access
Yes.
to everybody.
That's the main concern that we've been receiving this summer is a lot of people are out kayaking and using canoes, trying to get out on the lakes. And we don't have access where there's parking. So it's a concern.
so that might be something for a resolution down the road,
Yes.
once we've done a little bit more looking at it.
This was just something that came about as we were working on the parking bylaw. So we kind of put it all together. Illustration number 8 is Sunset Cove. So this is Lynx Beach. And right now, we don't provide parking at the beach. We've had numerous calls about sightlines for people parking and danger.
But it's on that line.
That's right.
Yeah.
And apparently the speed limit was lowered to 40. We're still looking at that. We don't know how that came about. But even then, we're having concerns about speeds and pedestrians.
That's
So,
been a concern for a lot of years.
so what we're suggesting here is the outhouse at both beaches. Those facilities are aging and they need to be looked at. So if we were to take those out, we had looked at getting the portable washrooms brought in and then taken out. They're much easier to maintain. We don't have any environmental issues, concerns, and we can put them where it would suit better for the beach. So they wouldn't be way off to the side. You could put them on the beach. And that way we could clear out an area there for parking, day parking, figure about 10 spots.
Yeah, I went look at that. I figured I could get 10 spots there. And then whatever material we kind of need as we do the rest of Birch Road, we could dump down there and use that and spill. And then to make the parking spots, it would be real low cost, a little bit of gravel on top. And we're not going crazy at the parking there. We're gonna make it long enough for a pickup truck parking, get off the, you know, so it's off the road.
And just make it safer.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So that was that one. Illustration number 9 is Wolf Lake Beach. Really, it would be the same idea of taking out the change room, washroom, and putting in a porta potty closer to the beach, facing the beach, so there would be no need to walk around into the parking lot. But the day parking is already in existence. And again, there's a 40-kilometer sign there that we're still investigating. The no parking along the road would just make it easier and safer for pedestrians.
And the emergency loading zone is along that flat rock still.
Yes. And we're still investigating our access to Ruth Lake for brushing, for a walking path down to Ruth Lake. We may have to look at getting a survey because we weren't able to find.
Yeah, we
Our
really
posts.
tried to find a kid. Whether they got knocked out at the front when they did the road or.
We're not sure, but it's best for us to be certain.
It's best to be 100% positive for a brush. On our property.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I believe we have the surveyor engaged for other things, so it would be a simple matter of just having them look at that for us.
And this covers all the emergency rooms, so temporary ones or ones you might need once in a while.
A lot of the calls I'm receiving over the summer too.
Mhm.
And coming into the winter season, it's gonna cover a lot of that, so.
So that we just wanted to bring forward for council to see where we were going with that. And we will continue as soon as we have more information and fill it out for the legal ramifications.
The legal part, would that be ready for this winter?
Yes.
Okay. Because there are a few hotbeds there, phone calls.
You know,
We're hoping October.
we're hoping, yes,
Oh,
that's our goal.
fast.
Even, anything before freeze up, because then you'll have a little time to
Yeah.
educate people.
Well, I think if we look at the last meeting in October, that will allow us time to place the final draft, once we've brought it to council. Put the draft up on the website and get some public circulation on it to see if there's any other comments that we've missed.
Some of the costs would be into next year's budget.
Yes.
Sounds like some of the costs could possibly be covered by Winnipeg.
Different things, we can look at all of those options.
Yeah.
So,
Good. Well, thank all of you for looking into this, because that's a source of a lot of interest,
yes.
especially through ice fishing season.
It was just the way that when we started working on the parking bylaw, it was the way that everything kind of flowed into each other. So we managed to look at all the different issues all at once. So that's why it all seems to come just from the one bylaw, but it helps us to identify everything.
So at our last meeting, we mentioned about the trailer bylaw update. And I think Chris has included this for everybody. Jamie's update, what his suggestions are. And has everybody had a chance to look at it?
Yes.
Now, tonight, I would just like you to look at it, and think about it. And I know we mentioned at the meeting, John Paul talked to a few different people, and Jamie has suggested the site-by-site basis to evaluate. So it would still be, we go through with the bylaw as it is. And then you go site by site after that. So I don't know if people have to wait till they get cited, or they come in first and say, this is what I'd like to do. Can I get a zoning bylaw amendment, for this particular area? I mean, there are other options, as were pointed out to us that night, Other options being, I'm gonna put in a septic bed, now I can have it 100 feet back, or I'm gonna bring something that says I've had it pumped. So those are other things that we can look at. But then you're gonna need a zoning bylaw amendment, to our official plan, because it's in there saying that they're not allowed as, on water lots, basically. So
The 500 meters seem to be the big contention.
yeah,
And outhouses, I was wondering if there was something under the outhouses, that outhouses must have a comparable.
What's that?
yeah, that's a good question. And
Like rather than just having an earthen pit or a barrel like it's required. I don't know what the conservation authority requires now, but I just wondered if outhouses could be on a holding tank.
That would have to go through the conservation authority. We can't speak to that, but we can.
look into it.
Yeah.
Is that right under you or right under me?
It feels like it's
Yeah.
like right there.
Yeah,
thought it
it's
was
right
right
there. It's
here.
rippling through towards my feet.
I think it would be one solution for a lot of people are concerned about outhouses and the 500 meters. We might well allow them closer to the lake if the outhouse was on a pumpable tank.
Right.
So
Yes.
that, like
We have
Chris
to
said,
have a
we'd have
way
to see
of
what conservation,
monitoring.
for. They must have they may have some rules now.
Yeah,
Some of them said, though, it's not under the conservation authority, it's comes under the Ministry of Environment.
We don't have a say in that, so we can certainly investigate it.
yeah,
But
see
then
what the
we have
rules
to
are.
see,
Well, we would, our bylaw would just say subject to the rules of environment or conservation.
See, our zoning bylaw, it's more strict. Like, we're 30 days back from the law, 30%. Like, conservation authority, they make it an issue. It's like 15.
Well, I thought that was based on the consistency of the soil, what type of soil was there, or
No,
That's
that's
not for the setback.
no price for any kind of septic, our septic system includes tank, mantle, and the actual bed, like it's everything. With the components of the septic system, and in our bylaw, we're 30 days back.
okay, so if they met those, then we could probably go to amendment 1. It would save a lot of grief on our building bylaw officials, because it would be,
See, when we went to the zoning bylaw meetings.
I think you
Just
have-
But that's 30 meters back, is subject to approval of the conservation. So we would approve the bid.
They approved the septic. but
And
they
I know some of the unorganized ones we looked at, you know, the rules say you have this close from the conservation authority, said no, it's got to be back 200 meters. Still from the soil.
In the end, like the conservation authority would approve the septic, but our bylaw says we have to be 30 days back.
Well, and again, it's just up for discussion. We can look at it and we'll have to discuss it again. And again, one would be, like you say, you know, site by site. And again, it's interesting. A lot of those, some of those people, I can't say a lot, some of them were arguing into the future. I have nothing now, but someday, and I had 3 of those, you know, well, maybe they'll never, ever have anything and it won't even come up. And then we did have, especially that last group that came in and spoke to us. So I think those are all things that we're gonna have to look at. You know, Jamie's made a suggestion, but we can look at it and we'll get back to it. But hopefully we're moving out of the trailer season right now, you know, as we move into fall and winter. So, but it'll definitely, you know, we have to have something ready for next trailer year, which would be spring to fall next year.
It was an amazing amount of trailers.
I've been driving around and I will sow more now that I'm gonna, my excuse is to see the fall colors. It's incredible.
Take them out, yeah,
Yeah.
start taking them off.
you don't realize how many trailers you've driven by
Yeah.
and not seen until
You
you
start-
read this.
And you start to look,
It's amazing.
At least 9 along filters. So that one is.
So we will look at this and
Yeah, if we could check into the conservation.
Yeah, I've made a note.
definitely do that for sure. So we look,
I've made a note.
yeah, and we'll go on to correspondence.
It's much smaller at this meeting.
yes.
And we'd like to pull that for the next meeting.
Right, so we're going to pull a draft resolution for
The National Day for Truth and
National Day
Reconciliation.
for Truth and Reconciliation. So we'll hold that for the next meeting. So we'll, you know, make some recommendation then, and we will have time. We won't know what, well, we'll have time to at least see what the areas around us are doing. But I know the school, they've gone with the education idea, which is really great for schools. Number 2,
Can I speak to that?
Chris would like to speak to this, and this is the
There it is.
RED program.
So this is an announcement about the Rural Economic Development Program, which just opened. Now, it has two categories. And the second one is economic diversification and competitiveness. Now, the stream offers 50%. We received an email, and I didn't know that these kind of companies existed, but they're offering to come in and do, to identify broadband connectivity gaps in the township of Nipissing. It may be worthwhile for us to look at applying for maybe $25,000 from this grant and $25,000 from the $30,000 that we had put aside, and putting out an RFP to have a company come in, look at the gaps in our broadband, in our cell, see what programs are out there that we can participate in, how it's best for us to approach getting these services improved. Any interest?
Yeah, I think there is an interest, and there's a lot of people, there's a lot of big gaps out here.
And I mean, I can get it, like I just have to ask Tom and he can say, there's nothing here, there's nothing here. I can go over, surprisingly, over by Westview, right by the lake there, and it's really bad.
Yeah.
You know, so if we have somebody in there and does it, and then we know.
They would have
And
to identify.
And again, it's for diversification and competitiveness, and that's what we're looking at here, so.
And this is that remove barriers to business and job growth, attract investment, attract or retain a skilled workforce, strengthen sector and regional partnerships, and diversify regional economies. I think we fall under all of that, especially if we're trying to identify gaps. And they say that they can find programs and funding for different projects to improve, so
That's even better.
it might be worth it
Well,
too.
that's a good add-on to what they're doing already, so.
Yes,
Mhm.
And do they say what kind of a fee it would be for that?
they don't. So
Okay, so
I'm estimating 50,000. It may be too high, maybe too low, just to do an RFP to go out and have a company do this. I wouldn't say to give it to these people. I would say to put out an RFP to see what
Yeah.
companies
Well,
are out there,
absolutely.
what they can give
Yeah.
to
Because it
us.
Might be considerably less.
Exactly.
Subject to the grant.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
yeah.
So let them know we have grant money, or don't let them know we have money aside for it, just.
I don't put that into our RFP documents. I just put that out there.
Too bad they couldn't do mobility at the same time.
Well, we have the cell coverage as well in there.
Oh,
Cell
they'll do
coverage
the
and
cell and the
broadband.
broadband.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
So it would give us an idea of where our spots are that we need to look
Yeah, I
at.
just saw broadband, I missed that, so you know, that's great that they would do both.
I think Bill had a question.
Will,
Did you have a question?
you were waving at, you okay?
Well, the building, is a prime example.
Yeah.
We have no coverage
None.
around the building anymore.
Yeah, you're saying that. You haven't heard anything about what's happening, what's going on?
With the cell service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can't make phone calls in the building at all.
I have none at home, and I'm just down
So
there.
you're hooked in with the
I had to get a landline.
Well, then we put a external antenna out there, which now we have service, but
That's
Just for
very odd.
emergencies, I had to get a landline at home just because I have no service there.
I know Sunset Cove Road too, there's problems.
Yeah.
Sunset Cove.
Yeah.
Mm,
So this is an important project, so we'll start working on it.
Yeah.
When's the deadline to file for the rate?
I think the program opened August 30th. It's good. It's open until October 1st. And I will do more research and have something to council for the next council meeting.
Certainly try to-
Yeah,
And other questions about anything else? We have the minutes. And these are from the health unit. They don't have the meetings, the phone-in meetings anymore, so they just include the minutes every week. Other than that, any questions about correspondence? Okay. Definitely. Okay, so I need to move her to seconder to accept the correspondence. Okay, I'll go to this side. Oh, good work, guys. Good work. Counselor Moore and Counselor Marchant. So it's number R 2021-195, moved by Counselor Moore, seconded by Counselor Marchant, that we accept the correspondence as presented. All in favor? Carried. Well, guess who's getting the accounts?
I got it last week.
Yeah, you two are under the gun this time. That would be Counselor Kirky and Counselor Scott.
It
Okay,
wraps up several projects.
if you take a look at it there, we went over some of the big ones.
Yeah, but
EMS.
EMS,
What I do for the EMS levy is I break it into two. They usually bill us in one bill. And we pay ours in two, so half in March, half September, once we get our taxes.
and now, we should point out though that the Miller paving and those ones come out of our grant money,
Yes.
but it's still showing up here as
Yes,
one
Yeah.
whopping big amount of money.
Yeah, it shows it as an expense, but it doesn't show where it came in as
Yeah.
the revenue.
Right,
Exactly.
okay, I just wanted to clarify that. So it's number R 2021-196, moved by Counselor Kirky, seconded by Counselor Scott, that the statement of accounts dated August 19th and September 1st and 2nd, 2021 totaling $513,921.30 be approved. All in favor? Carried. Okay. So we have our confirming bylaw next. So I need a mover and a seconder, Counselor Moore and Counselor Scott. So it's number R 2021-197, moved by Counselor Moore, seconded by Counselor Scott, that we pass bylaw number 2021-41, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of council at its meeting held on September 7th, 2021. Read the first, second, and third time and passed the 7th day of September 2021. All in favor? Carried. And last but not least, adjourning bylaw. Counselor Marchant and Counselor Kirky. It's number R 2021-198, moved by Counselor Marchant, seconded by Counselor Kirky, that the meeting be adjourned at 7:41. PM, next regular meeting to be held September 21st, 2021. All in favor? Carried. Carried. Now-
Sweat a little bit.
Just on our discussion from tonight, from close, so we're going to go at, first of all, is there going to be a,
Wait, it's on the 21st.
yes,
No, probably next meeting, October 5th, or the. Just meeting.
right,
We've adjourned.
Probably not to the 5th.
not till
Oh,
the
nice.
5th. So do we want to keep it at 5 o'clock or move it to 5:30?
5:30 would be better, I think. Does that work?
Better for you?
Doesn't matter now, I'm back to 8-hour shifts.
5:30.
Okay, let's go to 5:30.
I don't think it'll be as long. It shouldn't be as long.
There shouldn't be as
Next one,
much
no.
to discuss.
No,
5:30.
it shouldn't be. So we'll 5:30 on the next one and
Yeah.
then regular council at 6:30.
Yep.
Perfect. Thank you all. Kind of looking